Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and I am delighted to welcome you here today to the Breaking Free Show, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, night, day, morning, whatever. You are my guest, and I'm so delighted that you're here. And it means a lot because together we can create, we do, not can, we do. We create magic together. So I'm very happy you're here. And this is all about breaking free. And you know what that means. That means that everything that we learn together, whatever we take in, whatever we share, tools, strategies, techniques, whatever, we take it and we break free, we grow, we learn, we inspire ourselves, and we inspire other people along the way. So I'm really excited today because we have a great show, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But before I do, I want to say hi to Amnon.
Hello, Marilyn. How are you?
Well, that was very prim and proper. Are you prim and proper today?
I'm prim and proper.
Oh my God. Good gracious. Amnon is our producer and he is being prim and proper, so no telling what that means. You doing all right?
Nice outside. Yeah, I can't wait to get out there and do
It's
stuff.
beautiful out. It's beautiful out in the neighborhood, isn't it?
Yep.
Cool. So
You want me to
listen.
sing it? No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not
no.
going
Well,
to.
are you? Oh, no,
No.
no. So anyway, so let me let you know first off that during the show at anytime you like, you're more than welcome to call in to the studio on a phone 919-518-9773. You can Skype with us. That will be a voice computers. That's plural. The number 2K voice anytime you like during the show. Whenever the mood strikes, you have a comment, you have a question, you just want to know something, whatever it is, you want to be part of the show, call in because that's what we like. And we also have a chat, which is a live chat. You can put a nickname down right near the video, come in there, and you can engage with us in there as well. And if you have any questions for our guest, you're more than welcome to ask it there. So I want to introduce Kate Nasser to you. I met Kate on Twitter. She has a Twitter chat called People Skills, and she is brilliant. And she and I had a conversation about how people should treat each other, and just really good stuff. And I loved chatting with her, and so I invited her here to the show because she is wonderful. So let me introduce you today to my guest, Kate. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Marilyn. And I've got to tell you, that conversation that you and I had was the most uplifting one I had had in quite a while. So I'm thrilled to be back here.
Good. Well, I agree with you. I loved every minute of it. So tell everybody about you.
Whoa, about me. Well,
Yeah.
I am known as the People Skills Coach, and I started my own business, over 25 years ago. Before that, I had been a technical professional, computer programmer, systems analysis, all that sort of thing. And I could do it, but I loved being around people, interacting with people. And at that time, it has changed, but at that time, computers were sort of more in the back, and I just knew that I wasn't happy in my life. And even though I was trying to blame, in our minds, we always try to blame our employer or whatever. I remember one Saturday morning, never forget it. I woke up still disgruntled about my life. And as I walked past the mirror, over the dresser, I, I just stopped and I looked and I said, who are you kidding? It's not them. It's you. What do you want to do with your life? Stop blaming other people. And so I went to a career counselor, and she was incredibly insightful. And after, a few weeks of talking and this and that, she came back to me and she said, the reason you're not happy is because you want to be self-employed. And I said, you're crazy. I never even had a lemonade stand. What are you talking about? And she had given me these personality indicators and all. She had all this data, and she slid this data across the desk right at me like this. And she said, data doesn't lie, dearie. Now, she said, you've come this far. You've paid your own money to come to me. She said, if you really want to be happy in your life, you have to sort of, get some courage and think about what it is that would make you happy. And she gave me some exercises to do, yada, yada, yada. 2 years later, after saving the money and all of that, I left and I started my own business. And what I decided to do as a business was teach all of the people skills that seemed to come naturally to me to, at that time, a lot of technical professionals who didn't have to develop that level of people skill because they had been working in the back offices. But now they were out having to interact with people that had computers on their desks. And that was the beginning of the whole people skills movement. And here I am today. And now I teach it to all different kinds of companies, all different kinds of people, not just the techies. And it has been a very rewarding 25 years. Yeah.
Well, you know, how we treat each other, there can't be any, I mean, that is one of the most, if not the most important thing we can do, is
Yeah.
to know how to treat each other. And sometimes we take things for granted. Sometimes we don't even know what to take for granted. You know, we don't, based on situations, scenarios, we don't know how to react or how to act. So the work you're doing is really cool because nobody knows or trusts themselves, and not nobody. Some people don't know or trust themselves or know how to do it. That's why this topic, I'm so interested in this topic that you proposed today because it couldn't be any more timely.
Yeah, you know, I mean, when people say to me, you know, because I talk about the courage to care. We do it sometimes as a topic in the Twitter chat that you mentioned at the beginning, the People Skills Twitter chat on Sunday mornings. And people say, well, what do you mean? Why, you know, courage to care? Why is it important? And what does it mean? It's important, first of all, because at a very human level, every single human being wants to be basic respect, right? They want to be respected as a human being. And B, they want to be loved in that basic human way. So when we talk to other people, even maybe you don't mean to insult somebody, right? I don't think that the majority of the people in the world walking around saying, me, I'd like to be a real, you know, mean person and go around insulting people today. But it happens. And it happens, for example, when we dump our emotion about a situation onto the other person. So it comes across as that we're blaming them, or it comes across as demeaning them. So one of the things we have to do to have the courage to care is to be able to moderate our own behavior so that we always respect other people while we are respecting ourselves and our own needs.
Right.
And for that, it takes not only courage, but it takes desire. People say, Kate, can anybody learn great people skills? And I said, yes, if they want to. That is the only thing that could stop somebody, is not wanting to moderate or change their own behavior to put a little bit more respect and care for someone else.
So I have a lot to say about this, but before I do, I just want to let you know that Buddy is in our chat, and he says that he's known you for years, and you live what you talk about.
Thank you, Buddy. Where did we meet?
So, Buddy, where did you meet? And then I'll let you know. I think part of it, this idea of the courage to care, is that in some cases people have confused overcare with care. So overcare becomes more ego-driven, where care is from your heart. And if you overcare, it's exhausting.
So what do you mean by overcare? Because oddly enough, that is not an expression that I've really...
Okay, so overprotection for children. Let's say your children. You think you're caring, so you're micromanaging them. You're
like helicopter parents?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, or anything. Micromanaging anything. Micromanaging care is overcare. Okay. And we're not doing it because it's care. Because care is going to be more balanced. Care is going to know when to care and when to let go. But overcare never lets go. Yeah. And in the disguise of care. Mm-hmm. And so it's exhausting.
Well, to the people, to 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 the folks who really micromanage and helicopter all the time, I'm starting to believe, because there are some people that do it occasionally. There are some people that do it all the time. And I think the people that do it all the time actually find it less stressful, oddly enough, than they would find letting go. Because it comes, micromanagement and helicopter and all that kind of thing. You said it's ego, and I think part of it is. And I think the other part of it is incredible insecurity. The desire that everything has to be perfect, the disease of perfectionism, not the quest for excellence, which are two different things, right? But the disease of perfectionism and the insecurity that goes with that drives a lot of micromanagement and a lot of helicoptering.
Absolutely, and that's definitely the language of the ego.
Yes.
Insecurities. So this is I mean, there's listen, there's so many ways and places that we can take this idea, right?
We can talk about this
because
topic.
it takes, like Kate and I were talking about earlier, it takes courage to show that you care. It takes courage to stick yourself out there, to present yourself in a manner of caring. It takes courage to speak a truth because you care.
Well, something that comes to my mind when you say it takes courage to speak the truth, I think the topic that has been sort of in my mind and in everything that I look at and see within the last even 2 years, not just in this, current, election season or anything like that, but seriously, even over the last couple of years, when I read blogs, I write my own blog, but I read a lot of blogs, I watch the news, you see the current social value system, or whatever you want to call it, zeitgeist. And what is amazing to me is how many people have confused truth and authenticity for cruel, hateful, blunt. I mean, it doesn't, being authentic and being honest is not even close to the same thing as being rude and disrespectful and emotionally dumping on the world. I mean, these are two entirely different things. And I'm so concerned over the last couple of years how it's kind of becoming the norm. Everybody's starting to believe that that's what authenticity and honesty is. You can be honest with care without being blunt and brutish. There's absolutely no question why you can't. You can use manners, you can use diplomacy, and still be honest. And I'm baffled as to why people don't understand that. And I am really working on that now in my business, because it's becoming very shocking.
It's a very good point. Now, practice speaking before you. I mean, thinking before you speak. I love what you're saying, because I think about even email etiquette. I mean, I reread my email before I sent it, especially if I'm angry about something, to make sure. Yes, because if I don't, then anger is going to be in the first line. And let me tell you what, nobody's getting past the first line. If my anger is in the first line, nobody's getting past it. No different than if you have people yelling, and it doesn't mean screaming, it means anger. Who's going to listen? So, we have to learn these things and practice them, because we're not going to get anywhere if we don't.
The scar you inflict today, you will live with forever, even if you apologize. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Mm-hmm. We at some point, most every human being will inflict some emotional scar on another person, even without intending to do it. But the more awareness we have about not inflicting those emotional scars, the better the relationships. And that could be business, it could be personal, it could be with your kids, it could be with your boss, your teammates. That's why we've got to remember that courtesy and a bit of diplomacy and thinking before you speak is valuable. It doesn't mean that you are being fake. It doesn't mean that. And again, the scar you inflict today, you will live with forever.
Right. I mean, who and we have a really great question on the chat, so I want to get to that. But really, like, who's to say that that being direct, the only way to be direct is to blurt it out? I mean, and that makes a difference. Who's to say that's supposed to work that way?
But that's my point. I can be very direct with someone and still be respectful, honest, and allowing for my perception to be changed still by their view. I think one of the things everybody has to realize is that no matter how sure we are of what we believe in,
Right.
there's always a possibility that we are blinded a little bit by our own perspective. So you can be honest with care and still leave that little window open that maybe there's something you haven't understood completely. But if you blurt it out and tell someone constantly, you're this and you're that, and you're stupid and all this kind of thing, how are you going to take that back?
That's right. That's right. No, you're absolutely right. And it feels to the deliverer, not just to the receiver, but if you are in the middle of delivering contempt, how do you think you're going to feel? You're not just dumping it on somebody else and it's all theirs, right? And how you gonna resolve anything if you're coming from there? There's no way. You can't resolve anything.
Exactly.
So here's a good. So here I want to read you. Buddy just left a message too. So I'm going to read his, and then I'm going to give you this question. And then at the same time, I'm going to invite everybody out there to join us. 919-518-9773. That's via phone. Computers, that's plural 2K voice. If you'd like to connect with us and you're somewhere in the world and you got your computer handy, come on Skype and connect with us there, and also in the chat. So Buddy says, as Hugh Prather wrote, honesty can be gentle. That's what so much of this polarized bluntness lacks. That's what a lot of things lack today, is that gentleness.
Right.
So that's right on. Go ahead.
It's an interesting word too, because some people say it's gentleness, some people say it's kindness. You know, it's all in that same zone. It's a wonderful quote. The problem with it, not the quote, but with people, when they hear that, something happens in some people's brains when they hear the word honesty and kindness or gentleness. They think that these two things are mutually exclusive, that they're opposites. And, you know, if there are, I would just love it if, you know, there are universities that do research on all types of things. I would just love it if there were a way to study this concept and to come up with why is it that people see these things as mutually exclusive. I believe that people don't, it's because people don't know how. If you have the skill and you know, okay, these words, for example, are emotionally charged. So if you want to tell somebody that you disagree with them, don't use these words over here, use these words over here. I think that if you teach people how to do it, then they start to see that it's possible, and then they don't see it as opposites and mutually exclusive anymore.
And you know, not get confused when you have different role models up, and one is screaming and one, or they're all screaming, or there's, you know, it looks like this but it isn't. I have a really hard time when somebody's screaming their message that's care. I just have a really hard time on the other end. I just can't imagine that's truly, that they really are caring about me when they're not coming from a gentle, nice, sweet place.
Tone of voice is a huge, has a big, you know, if you go and you look at the studies, for example, in face-to-face communications, of course, body language is over 50% of the message. And then tone of voice also plays a big role, because you could say a sentence two ways. One would sound caring and one would sound sarcastic, for example, you know, or disrespectful. And then, of course, there are the words. I know there are times when people get emotionally into a certain subject and they will be screaming at each other. and it doesn't sound like care. And I would agree with you that it would be very difficult to see that as care.
Right.
Yet, if you also add words to that screaming that are demeaning and degrading and disrespectful in the very nature of the word, then you are over the edge and I can't bring it back. In other words, you can calm a voice, and if your words during the screaming haven't been accusatory and degrading, then both people or all the people can come back to a caring space just by changing their tone of voice.
Right.
But if when they're yelling, they're using racial slurs, they're calling people stupid pieces of dirt or these horribly, you know what I'm saying? Then even changing your tone of voice isn't going to help, right?
Right. So I wonder, and I'm sitting here after what you just said, and I'm triggered to thinking or wondering, then maybe care takes courage, but the screaming doesn't take courage.
Yeah.
Does that you know where I'm going with that?
For most people, there are some people that are extremely afraid of conflict. I mean, it's documented. It's not a criticism of them. There are X percentage of people that are terribly afraid of conflict. So for them, screaming, for them to scream is, deathly frightening. And for them, it would take courage to scream. For most people, screaming doesn't take courage, no. It takes courage to hold yourself a little bit, still be honest, but moderate your own behavior. That takes courage.
Absolutely. And taking a step, like Kate is saying, taking a step is courage, is a courageous act. And I became a mediator. I didn't like conflict. I became a Superior Court mediator because I didn't like conflict. It wasn't until after I got into mediating that I really kind of like the conflict that I can like. Some conflict I won't like, but I like some of it. So here's a really good question, and I think it's really pertinent that we go here, and also to start to talk about like how you get the courage to care, where you get it from, how you get it, what does it look like, and how do we get to that kind of care? How do we find ourselves caring like that? Because that's what the world needs. Kate and I can talk about anything. I mean, just wind us up and we're gonna go. Right?
And it's
Right?
so true.
But I think it's really, we can, I want to talk about care, and it does take courage to show somebody that you care when they, anyway. So here's a good question from Chris. And she said that she heard Kate say that anyone can learn people skills provided they want to. I'm wondering whether she has ever worked with people on the autism spectrum who, by virtue of their diagnosis, struggle with social skills and perspective. How does she tailor her teaching strategies to meet their unique needs?
Honestly, what's very interesting is that I have a cousin who has Asperger's, which is, as far as I understand it, is part of the autism spectrum. And I do not work directly with people in the autism spectrum. It is very much a specialty. What I do know is that it is possible. So if the person who's asking the question is looking for somebody to work with someone she knows, whether it's a child or a relative, friend, whatever, in the autism spectrum, then definitely seek out people who are specialists, because autism, as you said, they are challenged by social interactions. And yet I've read blogs, I've seen where they have made tremendous progress. So I think that in the autism spectrum, as much as I understand about it, it is not so much the desire issue that I talked about before. It is the actual challenges of autism. And so for me to sit here and speak about it as if I'm an expert in it would be very disingenuous, because I am not an expert in autism.
Well, and thanks for that. Thank you for your response, Kate. And I would say that there are many different scenarios where we're dealing with people, and whether on the spectrum or in different walks of life, that come at this notion of people skills without the notion of people.
Well, can I jump in for one second?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I just had a thought, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I said, I started out in the early years working a lot with what I call techies, people that I had worked with when I was a program and a systems analyst. And techies there's a huge range of techies, especially nowadays, because in the old days, if I can use that expression, computer programmers were very stereotyped as people who like to sit in the corner and do this, and just type on a screen. But what's interesting is that at one point, it was probably within the first, let's say, 5 or 10 years of my business, I was going in to do a customer service training workshop with for techies in a large corporation. And one of the techies was, we called a super techie. So he had big, thick glasses. His pants stopped about 3 inches above his ankle. And everybody told me going in, oh, by the way, don't expect much from him. He's a good guy, but don't expect much from him. I thought, I don't worry about that. I go in to do the very best job. So we were doing customer service training, and we got into the whole teamwork issue, which is essential for customer service. And it was a 2-day workshop. So we ended the first day, and a little bit early because a lot of them had to get back to handle some kind of crisis. And the second day they came in, I was in there early setting up for the new session, and the next day session. And some of them came in and they said, "What did you do to him?" I said, "What do you mean? What happened? What did I do to him?" And they said, "He was running through the halls yesterday saying, 'Kate says teamwork. We got to work this together.'" And yet walking into the room, before he arrived that day, they all said, "Don't expect very much from him." And they couldn't figure out what I had done or said. I didn't teach him anything different than I taught everybody else. The difference was that because he was a super introvert, when I wanted to make sure he understood something, I walked over toward him, I spoke directly to him, I lowered my voice slightly, and evidently, he felt like I had made a connection. Anybody can learn if you figure out what it is, how to connect with that person. And that takes the courage, and that you've got to stop for a minute and care enough to figure that out.
Right. And I'm glad you used the word stop long, or the words stop long enough, because we've got to slow down.
It doesn't, people think, yeah, but we're too busy, we have to meet our metrics. I'm a driver personality, which you've probably figured out already for those people who are watching. I'm not a slow-paced person. And it doesn't take a long time. One of the workshops I teach, and it's the most requested workshop I teach, it's how to spot somebody's personality type and adapt within 10, 15 seconds. You can do it. You can actually do it. And it's not hard to spot, and it's not hard to do, and it doesn't take even a minute. Do you want to adapt to other people? The courage and the desire makes the difference.
It's funny. I'm sitting here because I'm in the process of writing a series of books, and the title of the series, not each individual book, but the title of the series is In Just One Afternoon. That's the title.
I love that.
Because that is all it takes. I mean, that's all it takes, is just one afternoon of a connection, of a nod, of a handshake, of a pat on the back, a little rub on the elbow, a little something, a wink.
I mean, I take the train in and out of New York City, for work. I go in there on Saturdays for my Latin dance lessons. And coming home on the train yesterday, I just, had to get a seat, sat down next to this one woman, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, I love your leather jacket. Where did you get that vintage jacket?" I said, I bought it when it was new and I turned it into vintage. That's how old I am. And we both laughed. And the next thing you know, we had an entire conversation about her work. She works with, talk about the courage to care. She works with homeless kids, many of whom are living in abandoned subway tunnels in New York City. You should have her on your show.
I should, yeah.
And I mean, just the most engaging, wonderful person, and it was just instantaneous. And she got off the train. I had to get up to let her out of the seat there, and I said, "It was so nice to meet you." And she just patted me on my shoulder and she said, "That's mutual. Have a great weekend."
Oh my goodness.
I mean, bam! Just because she said, "I like your leather jacket."
That's it. And so I'm a listening freak, and so listening, opening up to these experiences.
It's amazing.
Is listening. I mean, we listen on all these levels, the awareness, the everything, and I can go into a whole litany on it, but I don't want to. So, but what Kate is talking about is listening, and listening to get to courage, and listening out of courage into care. Listening, go ahead.
I mean, the difference is, people define listening, which again, we could have a separate show just on listening, because there's another myth going on out there that to be a great listener, you have to be completely silent always. My conversation with that wonderful woman on the train on Saturday did not happen because I was silent. It happened because when she made the overture, and then I could have just said thank you. I asked her a question.
Right.
Great listening is dialogue. The only time you're quiet, of course, is that you don't want to jump over constantly stomp on somebody's words. But to show that you care, you have to have a dialogue with people. And yes, sometimes you're silent and sometimes you're speaking. But that's a very important point.
Yeah, absolutely. And to listen for the courage, to find the courage, to listen to create courage. I mean, we don't always have it. We have to listen our way to it. We have to want to, and Kate, tell me this. You start with wanting to care and then find the courage? Or do you have the courage where does it come from?
Wow.
I just hit me because I'm listening.
Yeah. I believe that deep down inside is the desire. However, for you to show the desire, you have to have the courage to care about something other than yourself. If you picture yourself always as the center of the universe, and there was an incredible article, I can't think of the name of it, but I could send it to you subsequently if you wanted to share it with your
Sure.
listeners and so forth. It was an incredible article about, the people, for example, that donate their kidney to a complete stranger.
Uh-huh.
And there was a writer who was obsessed with the idea of why is it? In fact, I think it might have actually been a TED Talk.
There's a TED Talk now about that it's easier to talk to strangers than it is. Is that the one?
That's not the one.
Okay.
But this was about, what does it mean that some people would suddenly, they donate their kidney to a complete stranger. Look at our first responders, firefighters, and so forth, and who choose to be a firefighter and rush into burning buildings. What is it about them? Why? Because not everybody does that, unless there's in an emergency, there are people who spring up, but people who choose it in advance, or people who choose to give a kidney. And they actually did brain studies. This was, and what they found was that these people do not have a center of the universe. They see the universe as everybody in an equal floating universe, as opposed to most human beings picture themselves at the center. But as we mature and grow, we widen that center to care about other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I believe that, yes, most human beings, especially when you're a child, of course, you're at the center of your universe. And then if you mature, we hopefully start to care about other people. So the courage has to come by giving up. people see it as giving up something of themselves in order to care about others. I think the courage is to care about yourself and others.
And at the same time, not to care about some others. In other words, not to care about what somebody might think in lieu of or after. In other words, it's a dance, and you've got to listen your way through the dance.
Absolutely. I mean, the one you can even ask my friends and so forth. The one thing I love about not being, let's just say, a teenager anymore, is that the older I get, the less I care about what I call random comments about me. I care about whether my customers think I'm doing a good job. I care about whether they think I'm being an upstanding person of integrity, all these things, of course. But what I don't worry and get distracted by as much anymore are random comments, like, oh, I don't like, I think that jacket doesn't match that skirt. Things like this that just get you off of your own inner caring and joy for life. And I think but there are some people, Marilyn, this is the challenge, I think, and it's a real challenge. I'm not criticizing them. There are some people who feel that they have to become tough, uncaring people to ward off those comments that hurt them.
Oh,
that's
it right there.
That's the dance you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I will be totally honest with you. When I was younger, because I'm very intuitive. I've got antenna like 100 miles long. So comments about me used to hurt me a lot. And so I used to, I don't care. I was going to be this insensitive, tough person. The problem was it wasn't who I was on the inside. So when I did that, I could ward off those outside things that hurt me. But then I felt like, if you'll excuse me, I felt like crap inside. So people look at me and they say, wow, you walk your talk. I've worked at it. That's why I teach it. It has been a very long journey of learning how to be confident inside. Let me put it to you this way. I say, nourish a thick skin and a warm heart.
Okay, so define that a little, because that's a big chunk right there. Define that.
I have developed a thick skin for the incoming rounds. In other words, if people are being hurtful to me, I still feel hurt. I mean, I'm a human being. But I have a thicker skin, so I almost wear like a flak jacket, like a bulletproof jacket kind of thing, that for the stuff coming in. But there are holes in it for the care that I want to send out, especially in customer service work. The customer service reps, they get beaten up all the time, and I go in to actually teach them what they call objective caring. They first say to me, what the hell is objective caring? And I give them different visuals, pictures to think about. What image can you hold in your mind? And the one I frequently give them, think about an emergency room doctor, right? Emergency room doctors. Somebody comes wheeling in, they're wheeled in, and they're really bad. Blood's coming out, and they're screaming in pain. Do emergency room doctors scream back at the patients? No. Why not? And people say, well, because they're doctors. I said, no, that's just a title. They're human beings. Why don't they scream back? And it's because they see the screaming as that person's problem that they can help solve. They don't think that person is screaming at them. You can use that same model to develop a thick skin so that incoming rounds don't hurt you, but have a warm heart so that you can send out care to others.
That's a great way to describe it. And there's some really good points to make here. But before I go further, I just want to once again invite everyone, 919-518-9773. You're welcome to call in and chat with Kate directly. computers, that's plural, the number 2K voice on Skype. And also we have our chat open, and there's lots of comments going on in there. So we'd love to have you in there as well. So there's no question. Do we need to define care? I mean, what's care mean? I'm sitting here and I'm thinking there's only one kind of care, really. Just, heartfelt caring, right? Is that
I mean, yeah, it's the actions of love.
the actions of love, which is
Human love. I'm not
Human
talking
love.
about necessarily romantic love. I'm
Right,
talking
right.
about humanity.
humanity. Now, so the courage to show that, the courage to be that, it does take courage in some regards. And how do you get the courage to do that? For myself, sometimes it's about being aware of my personal mission, my personal goal, my personal vision for something.
Bingo.
Say that again?
Bingo.
Bingo.
You-
Go ahead.
The courage to care, the desire to care, the ability to care, we're not talking about that right now. Right now, as you said, what is that courage? Where does the courage to care come from? And you absolutely, in all of my years, not just of teaching it, but in my own journey, it was developing my own identity. Who am I? What do I want to be known for? Because if you can say to yourself, I want to be known as a caring person, that is part of my core mission for being alive on this earth, then the courage to do it, and I'm not talking about suddenly you are going to become a firefighter, which is an incredibly, that's a courage at the highest level, perhaps, this kind of courage. But I'm talking about the courage to, you see someone being bullied, verbally bullied, to speak up and say, we can do better than this. Well, but you have to be willing to have the courage to do that. And to know who you are is where that courage comes from. Because if somebody turns around and says to you, I didn't ask you, shut the heck up, right? Are you going to feel demeaned by that? Or are you going to say, I know in my heart that I do and did the right thing, even if I got shot down? Because you're going to get shot down. That's life. Life is tough. It smacks you around. But when you get back up, are you going to care about somebody else? Or are you just going to get back up and then become a victim? Or are you going to become a person who's always vengeful? You know what I'm saying? You have to know who you are. You hit it right on the nose.
And the waters are not so clear, because you can know who you think you know who you are, or you can know you think you whatever. And it's how you express it that it's in the expression. So let's be clear that the courage to care is expressing a love. It's being loving. It's being lovely, loving, lovable. It's all of those love words. It's not blurting these things out. And when you do know who you are, based on the things that that you are, your personal thing, whether it's bullying, whether it's women, whether it's children, however you want to make a difference.
Right.
Then what can you accomplish when you do that?
Go
ahead.
It's infinite. It's infinite
Go
what
ahead.
you can accomplish. Yeah. When you know who you are, and by the way, it's still evolutionary. It's constantly evolving. There are times when I thought, that's it, that's who I am.
Right.
And then some other part of life would come along and slam me against the wall. And I have a dear aunt. I'm very, very close to her. And I never even noticed that I didn't know that she and my uncle used to have this discussion about me. And they used to say, no matter how many times you knock her down, she always gets back up better than before. I didn't know that. It never even dawned on me. So once she shared that with me, I kind of thought about that for a while. So again, who I was evolving, but it wasn't any surprise to me that when I started my own business, I mean, you can start any kind of business, right? They said you want to be self-employed and you'll be happy. And they had me write a list of everything I could possibly do, from starting a flower shop to whatever. I mean, it's limitless. Why did I end up trying to teach people how to care about each other? It's because it's who I am. And you don't have to do it as a business to have that as part of your core value.
Right. And the core values, you can keep adding to them. It's not like here's 2 or 3 and that's it. As you evolve,
Right.
evolve your core values. And I want to just make a point of saying, just as Kate is saying, you evolve as you grow, as you learn, that one step into courage, one step from courage into caring about something takes courage. As you evolve, you make more steps. It becomes easier and easier. And then maybe sometimes it's hard and then it gets easy again. It's a constant evolving, just as you mentioned earlier, that it's not one way up the mountain, basically. It's not where we can sit here and say, etched in stone, this is how it is, because the conversations are always evolving. We're always evolving, but let's at least evolve in the right direction.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because, the reason it never stops is because everything is always changing. So society is changing. What you run into, you're going to have one situation one day. 3 months from now, you could be facing a totally other kind of situation. I mean, for example, one of the toughest times I think that it is to really keep that caring nature is when you've suffered a terrible disappointment and you feel really like, wow, you don't even have any good feelings for yourself. How can you care about others? There are times when you feel like you've been treated unfairly. I mean, that's a big challenge.
Yes.
When you feel like you've been treated unfairly and now you still want to be able to get back to that core self of caring about others, now that takes courage.
It does. And the other thing that hit me is sometimes so this is, I opened this up before in saying, what do you gain from being courageous and caring? I mean, sometimes it's a business. Sometimes it's a relationship. Sometimes it's being a great parent. Sometimes it's being a wonderful mother, daughter, son, whatever. It's a business partner. It's a Facebook friend. It's a lot of things in making a difference, and it's leadership. And it's not always that you do this and you get known. Being courageous to do this is not because you want your name in lights. Right?
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, what you just said, that's why you see my head agreeing with you as I'm shaking this way, because no, it was never, in fact, I've had people, the first time I go into a new customer account, I had one guy say to me one day, well, if you're so good, why have we never heard about you?
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, it's not about fame. It's about doing a great job, in terms of a business. It's about, you find new clients, you give them references, they bring you in, you do a great job, they refer you to someone else. But, I'm not going to be necessarily famous for what I do. But the question is, am I effective? Am I helping anybody to move forward? It's about the contribution, not the fame.
Exactly. And it does hurt. There is some pain attached, but then the satisfaction, and this is again an inside job, because you don't always know that what you were courageous about and how you cared about somebody was received, well received, understood, or anything. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh my God. You and I, we could talk for 42 hours, and,
yeah, we
with
could.
laryngitis probably, when, of course, my voice today, because I have a very bad head cold, but wow, that's pretty strong. When you caring in and of itself doesn't cause the pain. Life is the pain. Caring is how you can minimize the pain. So if you feel the pain coming at you while you're caring, don't mistakenly connect it to the fact that you cared. The pain is there because of what's going on. And if you can't solve it right now through your care, you're still going to feel the pain of that moment. The caring doesn't cause the pain. It's the life difficulties that are causing the pain. It's the biggest. That's where the understanding what this all is part of that courage. You know what I'm saying? Because if you think, well, if I go show somebody I care and they tell me to buzz off, that's going to hurt, so I'm not going to bother caring about anybody. But the fact that they're saying buzz off is their pain. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, this is important. This is important both in our personal lives and in our business world. And in so many aspects of things that we do. Because people try to shut off their care, and it only makes them angrier. Because caring is like part of maybe the natural law of natural laws, that it's part of who we are.
It very much is. I remember, I'll never forget it. I went in to teach a huge call center, just an incredibly big call center, customer service skills. And the most requested topic, of course, is how do we handle, irate, angry, upset customers. So I was going through the formula of how to do it and all these things, yada, yada, yada. But one person raised their hand because I teach a very interactive class. I don't use PowerPoint. I don't sit there and talk at them. It's a giant bore. And one person raised their hand and she said to me, I want you to tell me why I have to treat somebody really well who's treating me badly, a customer. When a customer is treating me badly on the phone, why do I have to treat them with care? I said, first of all, I think at that point I had been teaching, let's say 20 years. I said, in the 20 years I've been teaching, you are the first person to ever ask me that question. And it is perhaps the most important question to ask and to answer. And the answer is that when someone is in pain, and yes, even an angry customer complaining about their tax return or whatever, even the angry customer, they are in pain. And the reason you show care to someone who is in pain is to make that customer moment and the world less painful. You can make it better by not taking it personally. You can change things. Every single person in this world can make this world better by showing care to somebody else. The only exception in customer service is if they're calling up and doing what we call verbal abuse. So when they start calling somebody a blankety blank, curse words and things like that, then there's a slightly different approach we get to minimize, to stop that, so then we can go back. But if someone's just screaming and yelling and so forth, that's part of the job, because you selected a job. That means you want to care for other people as a job.
So let me say this, which Kate's really bringing up some great points. Don't confuse care with agreement. It's the same thing with listening. Don't confuse listening with agreeing. It's not. Caring says, I'm hearing you. I understand, but you don't have to agree when you care. You're just giving somebody a sweet platform and acknowledging whatever it is, but you're not acknowledging that you agree. So say something, and then I want you to tell everybody, because we're almost out of time, if you can believe it. But I want you to tell everybody like where they can find you, what they'll find, all that stuff. Promote.
Sure. Okay. Well, my website, of course, katenasser.com, and there's my blog out there. I put out 1 or 2 new blog posts every single day. Everything from people skills, inspirational posts, customer service, leadership, teamwork, everything that has to do with human interaction. I run the People Skills Twitter chat, and that is open to anybody who has a Twitter ID. You know, if you're on Twitter, you can join us Sunday mornings. It's global. We have people coming in from literally around the globe. It's 10 a.m. Eastern time, and there's a website. What is it called? Worldclockconverter.com or something like that, where you can find out what time that is in your local time zone. Also, the big thing right now, I am writing a book on leadership and morale. Very excited about this book. Big myths about morale out there, that morale is about, rah sessions and balloons and so forth. And, morale is not an event. So those are good things to do, certainly, but there's a big void out there about morale in the business world. So I'm very excited about that book, hoping to publish it by the end of the year. And then hopefully have a whole series of workshops that will teach leaders how to really grasp this and do it well. I'd love to come back on the show and talk more.
Anytime. Love to have you come on anytime, about any 2 words, 1 word, anything, because we could make a lot out of just something.
You have a very special show, and I've been on other shows, Marilyn, and this format is so engaging and so open, thought-provoking. Your show is thought-provoking, and I applaud it. It's really wonderful.
Well, that's Amnon. And Kate's tweet chat is, I got off of it yesterday, and it was, I swear my heart was beating so beautifully fast. It was exciting because there were so many wonderful people commenting about great things, and it was a great topic. And so,
the topic was end-to-end bullying, which was
a great topic. And it wasn't just about, it was bigger than just, it was big. It was a big conversation. So I ask you to go and join in and just join Twitter just for that. And then Buddy said, when I was talking about caring is not agreeing, he said, it's like forgiving does not mean you forget, which is a very good point. So in closing, Miss Kate, what kinds of words of wisdom in summing up or going forward or whatever would you like to tell our audience?
I would like to say basically that if you want to live really happy, and if you want to even get close to experiencing joy in your life, care about yourself and care for others. When you give to others, even if you don't get anything back from that person, you will get back from others. This whole pay it forward, random acts of kindness, all of this, it is real. I have lived it, I have experienced it, and it propels us forward, everybody forward. Nobody loses. That's the thing I want people to remember. Nobody loses when we care for each other.
No, it's
all win.
It's a win-win, but remember, self-care is so important. You got to really take care of yourself in order and care about yourself to care about anybody else. And so we're about out of time, and I'm going to cry because it's been so good. So we're going to have Kate back again as a regular. So please feel free. Kate, you mentioned the article. Go over to the Breaking Free page on Facebook, whatever, and you can share it there as well, and then we'll share it out again. And so just for those of you out there, please, if you have anything to share after the show, please feel free. My email is always open, Marilyn@marilynshannon.com. Anybody have any questions about coaching, both professionally and personally, let me know. My 2 book covers are out on my website currently now at marilynshannon.com, and you can check it out in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of men. And then the next one is in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of twins. And I'm going to keep on going. So, Kate, it's been delightful to have you.
So mutual. I mean, I'm just so happy that we had this time together.
Me too. And maybe one day you'll come and maybe we'll just get Kate to have a regular show of her own. So anyway.
That's an idea.
That's an idea whose time has come.
Okay.
Well, she has a show, but I don't know, seeing her face to face is also good. So
Okay,
anyway, this is the thing. Any way we get our messages out, any way we care, as long as we care with courage and love, and we get our messages out, is a good day. So thank you for being here, Kate. Thank you all for being here. I really, truly love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.